All right, you guys, this is Michele Zaragoza. I don't see Rolf yet. This is both of us here for Central Valley Keller Williams, and we have Robert Brand here, staying out of court. Very, very, very important. And I'm so glad we have a lot of you on this call because this is something you want to take good notes on and understand that every time we bring this on, it's important because that means things are changing and you need to learn what's changing. And Robert, you are the man, and I really appreciate you reaching out to us and making sure I have these classes for our agents. So thank you.
Okay, and I need to be made a what is it?
Yes, a host.
Whatever to share. Okay, thank you, and thank you for the intro. I'll wait for this to come up here. Good morning, everybody. Not quite yet.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I'll share my PowerPoint, and let me do this, and hopefully everybody can see that. So, all right, good. So I never go over time. So everybody, we're going to go for 3.5 hours. No, I'm kidding. I'll be done by noon. And then if you want me shorter than that, let me know, because I can go right to the minute. But anyway, again, hello, everybody. And as mentioned, my name is Robert Brand. I talk about, at least professionally, one topic only, and that's avoiding litigation through proper disclosure techniques in real estate, residential real estate. It's hard to say this out loud, but this is my 32nd year consecutively doing this. So you might have heard me before, but if not, nice to see you here. So I will email to Michele some updated seminar notes. I update them like 4 times a year. And they're like 4 or 5 pages long. So I'll get those off to Michele when I'm done. I always like to give a shout out to my hero in real estate training, and that's Gov Hutchison. I think everybody knows who he is, and either they've seen him or they've heard him or whatever, but always a great guy to listen to on anything regarding real estate. And this is a big topic. This topic that I cover represents literally 90% of the lawsuits against residential agents here in California. There is no other state. I don't do this in any other state because they just don't have the litigation problems that we do. So we got to be ready for them. And a lot of them can be, I think the majority of them can be prevented. So anyway, I do not charge for what I do. Real estate companies, I do not sell anything to the attendees. So I'm very graciously sponsored by service providers. Here they are, and they're all going to say a quick hello, or most of them, in just a few minutes as the room population builds up. So let's go on. And if you have any questions at all, you can put them in the chat room, and I can, usually while I'm talking, take a peek at it or whatever, and try to answer your question. And just a standing offer, you can email me anytime you want or call me anytime you want. There's absolutely no charge whatsoever. Ask me a disclosure question. I will answer it. I'll copy Michele in so she at least knows what I'm saying. So that's always available too. So on the visual inspection, when you're doing your AVID inspection, the marching order, so to speak, are that it's a visual inspection. And even though the wording on that hasn't changed, the meaning of that in like the court system has changed. It really means, or is interpreted to mean, any sensory perception. So let me give you 2 examples. Let's say you're a 2-story home. Let's say you're representing the buyers, either side, but the buyers. You're going room to room, across the hallway, upstairs. And whenever I mention the Avid, by the way, so I don't have to say this over again, I'll just go with like the hard copy in my example, but you may have it on your phone, your iPad, or whatever. So anyway, as you cross the hallway a couple of times, not every time, but a couple of times, you've gotten the slight impression that there may be a very minor like slope, but you usually don't notice it, but you have a couple of times. So now you're done upstairs, you're ready to go downstairs. Before you get all the way downstairs, you go down a couple steps and you look at the floor and you say to yourself, it looks flat, it looks okay to me. Well, you have noticed something, even though it's very minor. So probably, even though it's not visual, you can't see anything, but it's a sensory, like sense of balance. So it should be disclosed, like a lightweight one, like upstairs hallway floor appears to have some unevenness. When the buyers move in, if they don't notice it because it's so slight, no harm, no foul. But if they do, you have a disclosure to protect you and your company against something that could be extraordinarily expensive to repair. So other example, you're downstairs now, sort of around the family room, kitchen area, and there's a really, really strong smell, strong odor. It's like overwhelming, kind of like musty or mildew. And you're thinking that even when the sellers move out and the place gets cleaned up, this is such a strong odor here. Some of it's going to linger on. It probably bother the buyers. So a lot of people in our business would disclose that on the Avid as like a strong or heavy, musty odor in this area. Well, a couple of problems with that. First of all, strong, heavy, whatever. Those are adjectives, and just a blanket rule for disclosure. We never want to use adjectives of any kind ever. In advertising, with almost no litigation, you can use them all the time. Magnificent view, beautiful backyard, whatever. And there's like almost no litigation. It's just in the disclosure part. So big, small, major, minor, fair, poor, long, short, whatever. We just want to leave them out of any comments we make on the Avid, and even verbally to the client. Well, you still want to disclose something. In my second example there, you're not going to write down, this part of the house really stinks. You're not going to do that. You got to have something better. So in the notes, I have an example, and I just from memory, it would be like obvious odor noted in this area. It's not heavy, it's not strong. Musty and mildew are way too close to the word mold, and we never want to say that out loud, and definitely don't want to write it down. So any sensory perception, doesn't make any difference which one. And as you go through the Avid, as you go from room to room using the Avid, if you're going to say something about the room because you've noticed something that's worthy of disclosure, if you don't notice anything, I'll get to that in just a second. But if you do notice something, it needs to be either a defect and or a red flag. It can't be anything. It shouldn't be anything else. You probably know that, but I'll give you a couple of examples where we can, kind of mess up on that a little bit. First, some definitions. A defect, like a broken window. That's the whole disclosure. Cracked window, broken window. It's not a big crack, small crack, upper right corner crack. From the baseball crack, it's cracked window, just as briefly as you can state it. The fewer words that you have, the less chance that there'll be a problem in litigation if that happens. The other category, the only other one, is red flag. Now, if you see like the ceiling stain, a lot of us in the business would say, let's say it was even bigger, like there's a large water stain or something like that. But we don't want to say large, even though it might be large. It doesn't make any difference. That's a subject or a topic for argument. And in court, they argue in a very clever way. It's really hard to beat them at that game. And, stains can occur from a lot of things other than water. I don't know what it's from. It could be from a rodent problem. It could be from water, like a roof leak. It could be they're storing white wine in the attic and a bottle broke. Don't know. And in terms of the Avid, I don't care. I'm just filling out the Avid right now. So stain noted, discoloration noted. If it's near a window or something that makes it easy to identify, you can put that in there. But keeping the disclosure, just stain, discoloration. It's not big, it's not small, it's not from water. It's just, that's all you need. And if they have an interest, the client, they can investigate it. Lots of challenges. I'll just mention two, and then we'll say hi to our sponsors, and they'll be brief. You're in the living room and you can't find anything to say. It looks all right. You don't want to say it looks all right. We'd never want to compliment a room. Advertising, you can compliment, but not on the Avid. But you notice the ceiling fan, think, oh, well, good. I've got something I can write down because the room looks perfect. I don't want to say that. So, ceiling fan noted. Well, the ceiling fan is not a defect or a red flag. It's inventory. So what I just did is I started listing inventory. So now I have to be consistent and list inventory in every room of the house. And now I've got the Avid going into addendums, and it's just out of control. So don't want to do that. I'll give you a suggestion when you can't find anything to say, which happens a lot in homes that are, kept up well. And then the other one, only lots of them, I'm just doing 2 of them here. Spiderweb challenge. There's no ceiling fan to distract me. I can't find anything to say about the room. It looks so good, which is a happy problem to have because, if it's good shape, there's less chance of a lawsuit. Some agents get really picky and they'll even literally mention there's like a spider web in the corner or something like that. It's too trivial. It doesn't rise to the level of disclosure. And now we've lowered the bar down to this level, and we've got to keep it at that level and get picky everywhere. And then there's way too much information in the Avid. So what do you do when you've looked at a room, and this happens a lot because if the home is kept up nicely or they've cleaned it up. The best expression in 3 decades, statewide, pretty well evenly dispersed, is that I have found is nothing noted. Now, the only complaint I've heard about this, and make sure, if there's anything that disagrees with your office policy, go with your office policy. But the only disagreement I've heard about this is if the home is in ideal condition, the agent might ask me, hey, Robert, I've got nothing noted, nothing noted, nothing noted, nothing noted, nothing. It looks like I never even showed up. And there's a really easy solution to that I'll get to in just a second. But anyway, to hear from our sponsors, some are here in person, some are not. Since I can't see everybody right now, Jamie, are you in the room or on the road? Let me see if I can hear Jamie Eager with first. Oh, there you are. Okay, yeah. Okay, go for it.
I'm here.
Go for it.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So put only names of the products that have these slogans, and you could type it in the chat or you could yell it out. Give extra, get extra. Anybody know what product that is? Extra gum. What about double your pleasure, double your fun? What product is that?
Wrigley's gum.
Wrigley's double mint gum, right? And yes, it's Wrigley's. And it was started by William Wrigley Jr. in 1893. And what do we have in common? Well, when you work with First American Warranty and JCP Natural Hazard Disclosures, you're definitely doubling your pleasure, doubling your fun, and doubling your risk protection. Just as Wrigley was a pioneer of the gum industry, did you know that JCP Disclosure is the pioneer of natural hazard disclosure industry? The very first real estate disclosure report was prepared by James C. Pendergast back in 1976. And with 47 years in business, here's the really amazing part. We've never used our E&O insurance. That's how accurate our reports are and the quality and accuracy you should have that's backing up your business and your disclosure liability. Also, to further your risk management, we have First American Home Warranty, and our $490 value plan is one of the best ones that you can get. But just remember, there's also some important optional coverages. Now more than ever, you really want to be giving your buyers a brochure, so then that way they can look at them. 2 of my favorite optional coverages, one of them is called Plumbing Plus, and what that does is it gives you, it's an extra $100 option, but it gives you $1,000 in plumbing lines that are outside the foundation of your home, and it also increases the slab limit from $1,500 to $2,500 on any slab leaks. And then of course, we also have the First Class Plus. It's an extra $100, but anytime that a heater, an air conditioner, or a water heater are changed out, it gives your buyer an extra $1,000 to go towards code upgrades and modifications. So it is an honor to help you and help your clients and work for such a great company that has amazing people behind the scenes. And we're always dedicated to go that extra mile to provide outstanding customer service and a superior product for you and your clients. I'd like to let you know that Marilyn Chapman is no longer with JCP, sadly. And during this time frame, if you have any NHD needs, simply let me know. So remember, First American Home Warranty and JCP disclosure, every buyer, every seller, every time. And thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I can see out your window and you see you're moving, so I know you're multitasking here. So very nice to have you, and you came through very well. So have a great day. Kirk is here, I believe. Now, Kirk, I'm not sure if I was going to speak for you, but or you're gonna say hello. Kirk's a great. Let me just sort of start, and then you can interrupt me. Kirk is a phenomenal home inspector, been around like me forever, and you see the two designations at the bottom. You know, home inspection companies are not regulated by the state of California. It's a matter of fact, just as a tip, if you recommend, like, to your buyers, you ought to get a home inspection, make sure you never say, I recommend you get a licensed home inspector. There are no licensed home inspectors in California. Our state does not license them for whatever reason. Long story. So you could say qualified, and there's lots of designations. There are no designations that are more difficult to get than the two that you see at the bottom there. CREA, or California Real Estate Inspection, and ASHI, and that's Kirk's number. Kirk, did you want to add anything? Because I might have overtalked you there.
No, I'm here. So
Okay.
I just wanted to thank Bob for, I've been doing this with Bob for 25 years, and the real drawback of not being in person at one of these meetings, especially with Jamie, who's also that I've known for 25 some odd years, is Jamie going to send us all chocolate chip cookies when we get all done with this? I mean, I think we've become used to those in-house meetings, right? Yeah. Chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah. Wait, Kirk, I want your brownies, okay?
Oh, you mean my fudge? My fudge.
Yes, fudge. That's what I want.
Okay, well, I'll bring some in. I'll get some in. So I know this last couple of years have been kind of short on that with all the lack of meetings and COVID and all this other stuff. So anyway, as Bob said, I've been doing this since 1995. And I guess the important part, as far as staying out of court, is the whole theme of the seminar today, is to make sure that you've got a qualified home inspector. And there are some out there that aren't very qualified, that miss a lot of things at times. I've followed up on some of them, and there's been some pretty blatant mistakes that I've seen made. And you don't want to find that out 6 months down the road after you've closed a transaction. Sometimes people think that I maybe find too many things, and I try not to get picky about stuff, but at the same time, it's got to be disclosed if it's there. It is what it is. The house speaks for itself, the way I talk about it. And I don't try to sugarcoat stuff, but I'm certainly always aware of sensitivity to both the seller, because they don't want to be told their house is falling apart or anything like that. And the buyers need to be made aware of the conditions without scaring them as well. So I'm always very clear about not trying to scare them. If there's something that is specific that I think maybe needs some additional investigation or discussion, I will talk with the agents and find that out information, and then get back and try not to scare the sellers, while also disclosing everything that's necessary about it. I've been around, like I said, for a long time. At this point in my career, I'm sort of semi-retired, but I still do inspections. That's one reason I wanted to get on the call today, so people still understand that I'm still around. And I usually don't schedule things out much, in advance. So that's why I'm typically am available. So give me a call. My cell number is 209-481-5403. Give me a call if you need an inspection. I can usually do things on a pretty short-term basis. And again, thank you, Bob, for having me on this. And Michelle, I'll get you some fudge.
Okay. Kirk, the number I have on the screen, that's your office number, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
okay,
that number will rotate to my cell number. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Nice to see you. By the way,
right.
Chocolate chip cookies, fudge, there are so many ways for me to gain even more weight. I'm just so happy for that, but thank you very much. And then she can't be here, Penny. She's with kind of changed their name a little bit, Ability Ambec Mortgage. She supports everything I do in the Central Valley, and it just does a great to work with on the lending side. And I will get her information into the notes, so you'll be able to contact her if you don't know her already, but she does a phenomenal job. And before I continue, Legal Services of America, Virgil's there, and he'll be brief too. This is a company that has no conflict at all with corporate counsel, legal counsel, office counsel, but they work with buyers and sellers after closing that are having a dispute, and they intervene then, not during the transaction, and really make it go away. And it's an unbelievable service. So Virgil, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Robert Brand. I appreciate all your years of service to our industry. As a kind introduction, thank you, Keller Williams Central Valley. My name is Virgil Flores. I'm the owner of Legal Services of America here in Rancho Murieta, California. And here at our company, we have developed a first of its kind risk management lawsuit prevention system effective at stopping 98% of any lawsuits against California realtors. As Bob said, there is no conflict with your own corporate counsel. We started 30 years ago providing legal defense to the real estate agent because you are the most sued industry in America, second only to doctors. Out of all the lawsuits filed here in the United States, over 50% are filed in California. What we found along the way is that something very important, that buyers and sellers would rather mediate than litigate. And it makes sense, of course, because most attorneys charge $7.50 an hour. And the E&O insurance is an incentive to actually sue the agent. Some examples of our services could include, our services, what we will do, our company will do, is we will provide a lifetime of mediation after the close of escrow to your buyer and seller. That means that if any problem occurs where the buyer's unhappy, they're not going to have you taking your valuable time dealing with that problem. They're going to call on our company. And we're trained in how to resolve disputes. And we get these people to work out their differences 98% of the time without expensive litigation. And because the RPA directs them that they must mediate before they litigate, it works perfectly. But what this will give you as an agent is a powerful value-added benefit for choosing you over any other realtor. It doesn't stop there though, because prior to the close of escrow, many times buyers and sellers have legal questions that could delay the transaction. And we know that realtors are not lawyers, nor should you risk your real estate license giving legal advice. So from this point forward, you're bringing on a real estate attorney as part of your team to help remove the legal roadblocks and help these people into escrow so that everybody gets legal peace of mind. Now, all these services are going to be a valuable added benefit, as I've said, and you can use this as a marketing advantage. And then lastly, I should tell you that as a part of our service, if for some reason anyone ever threatens our client with a lawsuit, we pay the lawyers to vigorously defend them at no cost, and we pay the E&O deductible. I like to say we put our money where our mouth is. If you get sued, we pay your E&O deductible. And lastly, again, thank you for all your time. I know it's a short meeting today, but I wanted to tell you that the services are paid for by the client, typically out of escrow. And it's just a small fee that you put on each one of your future closed transactions that'll help to prevent lawsuits against realtors. I'll put my information in the chat room. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Virgil, and thanks all the sponsors so much. Okay, let's get going, and I will speed up my delivery even faster. Let's say the nothing noted issue. As I mentioned just before we heard from our sponsors, pristine home, you really can't find anything wrong. Here's a way to handle it. Here in California, not all homes, I mean, it's probably different by like Yosemite and Big Bear and places like that. But most homes have, or a high percentage have, like on the left, stucco siding. If you ever want to refer to that because there's a problem, exterior siding is a better term to use than stucco. But anyway, and then on the right, concrete or cement, we got walkways, poolside, driveways, whatever. I think we would all agree, since we all live in California, it is impossible to find a property with these surfaces, which are very common, that just where there are no cracks, just crack free. If you look to the left, the exterior siding, you can kind of see some fine or minor cracks there. Something that we would never want to write down is like minor settling cracks. We don't want to say minor. That will be debated in court. And the word settling will bring in, well, where do I start? Architects, structural engineers, soils engineers to argue with you, because that's in their province, not ours. So there is a disclosure that can be made because these are so common, whether it's driveway, walkway, or whatever. And I'll have this in the notes. Some cracks noted at exterior siding and wherever it is, backyard patio, driveway, pool, whatever, fill in the, per property. That's going to be true at 99% of the cases and or situations. And if you're wondering where to, this is when you just can't find anything else to say. If you're wondering where to write that, well, there's other places you can, but one that doesn't get utilized very much, it's at the end of the form, is the other observed or known conditions not specified above. You can put just about anything there if it doesn't fit somewhere else. And that's a great way to go in a pristine home where it is really in seemingly perfect condition, but you don't want to write that down. So that provides a disclosure, and I'll give you some other ideas as we go along too. A question that comes up a lot is, say it could be either side of the deal, but let's say you're representing the buyers, and the house is like, you have like the house, and then you have a Walmart or a Target or some big store, or there's an airport next door, there's something, a big, some kind of exposure that might bother the buyers. You think, well, like here, for example, house on the right, school across the street. Somebody who buys this home is going to experience, good or bad, whether they like it or not. They're going to hear, well, there's going to be gridlock in the morning and afternoon with kids being dropped off. Their driveway may be blocked and hard to get in and out of off their street. They're going to hear bells ringing for class changes and, football practice and dances and all that. Now, a lot of people want to live near a home. They still have to have it disclosed to them. It still should be disclosed to them what the situation is. And if it's a buyer, especially from out of town, that school may not be there. It may be just around the corner, half a block away. They don't even know it's there, but they will find out when they move in. So we do need to disclose things that to us seem overly obvious. And you think this would be an insult to their intelligence to mention it because it's so obvious. Well, we don't have to think about that or think that way. There's a really easy way to disclose this kind of thing. A couple other examples. This is obviously in the Los Angeles area, very busy freeway, Interstate 10. I get a kick out of this house because you cannot get closer to a freeway. The on-ramp just to the left is right by that hedge. It's really close. So somebody who buys here, they're going to have a constant noise sound, may bother them, may not. They're going to have exhaust, in the air, just all kinds of things that go with the freeway. Now, again, we might say, well, the buyer's been there 2 or 3 times. My client, the buyer, they obviously can't miss this. You wouldn't believe in court when an attorney is there representing the buyers how they miss this. And then just one more, shopping center, nice homes up above. I live near here, so I took this picture myself, and there are residents in that neighborhood who sue because this is about a half-mile long shopping center. Can't quite tell here. It's got a Target and supermarket and a big sporting place and all sporting goods. And there are deliveries 24 hours a day. Now, some people move in a neighborhood like this and they said, well, I have like a nice view. That was great. And I know there's stores down below, but I thought they like closed at 8 o'clock. But there's deliveries 24 hours a day, these big trucks, and they're backing up and all that. So there is a way to make a disclosure about these things. So first of all, we do need to, the obvious nature of it is never a reason not to disclose it because buyers are looking at other stuff, So disclosing something near a property, the best way to go, in my opinion, is to disclose what is there, not the details of what may bother them about what's there, because everybody's different and you'll never get all the details right. And if you make a list like a freeway, there's noise, there's air quality issues, blown out tires may fly off the freeway. You will never be able to make a list for anything that's long enough such that an attorney going after you can't find something that's not on the list. So we don't want to make a list. So there's a better way to do it, and that is to simply disclose what is there. When we disclose, for example, there is a freeway, highway, whatever, near the house, that means whatever can affect you by purchasing this home, whether it bothers you or not, may not bother some people because they can see the highway or freeway. That's being disclosed. There's a freeway, and everything attendant to that is going to be part of your life. And you just have to realize that. There is a school close to this property. That may be a big thing for the buyers. They want to be close, but they may later complain about some aspect of being so close to a school. So when we make the blanket statement, seems overly obvious. There's a school close to this property. Therefore, the never-ending list of things that you could appreciate or that you might not like about a school is going to be part of your life. Don't make a list of specifics, in my opinion. And on the shopping center thing, a shopping center is located behind this property. You know, you're going to look at the view. That's great. Get a good deal on the house. That's great. You can look down and see the stores and maybe glance at them, but keep in mind, I have disclosed in writing, there's a shopping center there, and everything that happens at a shopping center is going to be part of the scene where you're living. So better way to go. And it also doesn't scare people away because you got this, 25-point list or something, and they may not be bothered by any of them. Okay. Rough draft disclosure to final disclosure. If you haven't seen me before, this is going to be a really quick way to take a disclosure wording that you're not really sure about and very quickly get it into a condition of wording that can go right onto the Avid. And it's going to seem like it's overly simplistic, but it's great. Doesn't cost anything. Takes about a half a minute. So let's say I'm got the buyers. I'm at the property doing my Avid. The sellers aren't home. They're kind of on their way home. I really want to get out of there before they return. 2-story home. I've done upstairs. I've done all the downstairs except for the last room I'm in, and that's the kitchen. So I've got my Avid. I'll go with the hard copy thing here. Everything, looks fine. I'm not going to say it looks fine because there's no compliments in the Avid. It's only, you don't tear it apart either, but it's for negative things or red flags, potentially negative things. Anyway, left to the refrigerator on the wall, I see a couple of stains like this. I'm thinking to myself, this could be a bad deal. This could be the indication of a mold infestation that's really bad behind the wall, and they're going to find out when they move in. And it can be like catastrophic, or maybe it's not. Maybe this is not a big deal, but I'm not sure what to write down. But I don't want to sit there for a half hour deliberating over it. So here, this is going to sound like a really old-fashioned thing to do, but it works like a charm. Set the Avid down or your laptop down, whatever you have it on, and just get like a good old-fashioned like scratch piece of paper. So you're not writing this on the Avid, you're writing it on a notepad or something, or your phone or whatever. So for me, I'd probably write down 2 small black mold stains noted. Now it's not on the Avid, but I'm done now and I can leave, and I'm done with my Avid deal, except for this. Then later on, I'm at my home office, my office, my car office, wherever. And I take that out and I begin to remove every word I can such that it still makes sense in the English language. So I don't have to give numbers, small, colors, never, mold, absolutely never. All I have left over is stains noted. And then I get out the actual Avid, and that's what I put down for that disclosure, stains noted. And that's it. It just takes all the adjectives away, takes the scare factor away for a buyer, but also lets them know that this is what I have seen. You have no idea what's behind that, so you can't even get into describing it, nor would you want to. All you can tell them, but we have to make sure we do tell them or disclose to them that there were some stains there. If they want to investigate it, they can. It's up to them. So easy way to get from a rough draft to final. Let me just quickly look just one time here at the chat room, see if there's any no questions here. And you can email me with questions or whatever you. Oh, wait a minute. Here's if we perform Avid during home inspections and things. I'll cover that. It's never a good idea to do your Avid at the same time that the home inspector is doing his inspection. It's actually one of the most litigious things we can do. So I'll skip down and get to that before I stop. You always want to, if it's humanly possible, to do the Avid before the home inspection takes place, even if it's the same day, but you can get in at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then let's say Kirk, the home inspector, is going to be there at 3. If it's that close, you do it at 9 o'clock, you date it, you put time in, time out to make it clear. You filled out the Avid, did your Avid thing by yourself. And I'll explain why that's really important. That's a good question. So I'll get back to that. Let me just skip ahead to that section because I have hours and hours and hours of material here. Before I get to it, let me cover this because it's an important thing to do. I've got about 20 minutes here. Okay, should you disclose wear and tear items? I get asked this a lot. These are like really minor things, touched on it for a minute ago, but let me get into more detail. That's where, the time that we disclose the scuff mark or something is when the home is in ideal condition and we just don't have anything else to say. So we'd say, I got to write something down here. Well, usually that level of issue or observation, we don't disclose because then it brings down the standard of care to like the really picky level. And once we get there, we kind of have to stay there and get super picky. And then the Avid fills up with all kinds of stuff that nobody cares about, and none of them affect the value or desirability of the property. Once you start disclosing wear and tear issues, the common stuff, you got to disclose all of them. So that's a trap that we can kind of fall into. And then there's way too much information in the Avid, and conscientious buyers that really want to know what's going on won't be able to find the meaningful disclosures. I'm going to really date myself here, but there's a game that used to, maybe it's still out there, I don't know. It's called Where's Waldo? And he's got a red and white striped shirt on, and he's kind of hard to find. If I do this, you can see him really carefully. By the way, I had no idea that he was a real person, apparently got into some trouble. So there you go. But anyway, you see him there, that's easy, that's the game. But without that, it's kind of hard to find. So I like Waldo to represent a meaningful disclosure that buyers ought to know about in advance, well worded, so you're safe in the transaction and afterwards from a liability standpoint. That's the meaningful disclosure. All the other beachgoers are the filler stuff that we really shouldn't have there. So we want the buyers to find it easy to locate on the Avid what they really need to know about. So when they move in and they see something, oh, there's that stain. Oh yeah, we read about that on that form. So they know that you've disclosed it, and that's for your protection and theirs as well. So what else? Oh, let me skip over the photo thing. Here we are, never complete the Avid during the home inspection. And the reason why we always want to do it before the home inspector is there, if it's humanly possible. I know market conditions kind of dictate some of how you can do that and so forth, but it actually reduces your litigation potential a great deal when you get in there, do your Avid, you're finished with your Avid, and then a day or two or whatever later, the home inspector's there. It's really great to have your buyers there, but you've already done your standard of care, your Avid. You're not around the home inspector who has a totally different standard of care, much higher than ours, believe it or not. They actually get sued more than real estate agents do, if that can be believed, but it's true. They, depending on the home inspection company, because it's not state controlled, they will go under sinks, and some agents do, some don't. They go up in the attic, and you're not going to do that. They'll go up on the roof if it's climbable. Usually it's not, but they have a different standard of care. So let's say this afternoon deal comes together, that's great, got a contract, I've got the buyers, and I'm able to get out to the property right away. I'm just able. Sometimes that doesn't work, but sellers are cooperative. I'm representing the buyers. We have a contract now, and I can get out there. And let's say this is the master bedroom, just looking at that photo. Well, I can't see everything there, but just in that range of view, I don't see anything worthy of disclosure. If it was a tile floor and there was a throw rug there, I wouldn't be looking under the throw rug. As a real estate licensee, I don't move things out of the way to look underneath like a rug. I also am not going to look behind that flower painting because I don't move things out of the way. Part of the standard of care as a real estate licensee. But if I am there when the home inspector is doing, like if Kirk is there and he's doing his inspection and I'm kind of in and out and tagging along and then not tagging along, but I have now, every home inspector does something different, but sometimes home inspectors will remove a painting like that. And let's say behind that painting, there was this condition. Well, that doesn't look too good. But as a real estate licensee, I don't move things out of the way. So I don't even know it's there. I have no responsibility to disclose it. So it won't be on my Avid. But if I say, well, Kirk's going to be there, on whatever date, and I want to have my buyers there, which is great. They can do whatever they want. And I'll do my Avid then. Well, then there's a chance that I am going to see this when I normally wouldn't, because I don't move things out of the way because I've already done my Avid. I'll eventually see it maybe, but it doesn't change my Avid because I've stayed within my standard of care. So it really reduces our liability to get it done whenever humanly possible. Market conditions can change the possibility of that. But you do your Avid deal or your Avid duty not in the presence of the home inspector. So always complete the Avid prior to the home inspection when humanly possible. And by the way, with market conditions changing and maybe sellers being more open to doing repairs, which they haven't been open to do, didn't need to do in the last few years, even when repairs are negotiated, you still want to do your Avid as soon as you can. Usually repairs that are done to please the buyer to make the deal go through in certain market conditions do not affect the level of the real estate licensee's inspections. But even if they do, you can always come back again after the repair's been done or whatever they've negotiated. And then again, you've done your Avid. That's a done deal. It's dated already, obviously. And then when Kirk is showing up and the buyers are going to be there, great. You want them there. Chance of litigation goes down when they meet the home inspector and are there for the closing conference. I've already done my Avid, so I'm going to sit it out. I'm not going to follow anybody around. I'll be in the family room or somewhere and getting some work done. Much better way to go. So that's my answer to that. Let me, before I run out of time here, okay, just how do you handle the word mold? And I'll get that's in the notes. Do you note the location of stains? Well, if there are several stains in a ceiling, that's what you call them, stains or discoloration. And you can just say some stains noted at ceiling. You don't want to count them because you may miss one, that kind of thing. Don't want to say they're big or small. There's 3 big ones and 2 little ones or whatever. Don't want to do that. And then I do have a question here about photos. So I will give you my opinion, but I always like to do the disclaimer. Let me go back here. You can ask me anything. I've got slides on it. So anyway, I'll tell you my opinion. I talk about the subject more than anybody in the state of California, but some offices have different approaches. So I always say go with office policy. So here's my take on it. And the Glide platform or app or whatever tends to be the most popular. It's kind of started out making it really easy since we all have a phone now, probably better than mine, but they all have cameras on them. You go way back, we had regular cameras and then disposable cameras and now, phones. It makes it real simple. But the fact that it's simple to take a photo, like during your Avid inspection, doesn't mean that we should. And the question is whether or not taking photos increases our liability. It does say we do a visual inspection. It doesn't say any more than that. And we don't want to add anything into that increases our liability. Competent and diligent visual inspection. Because if you take photos of a crack and then a stain and then something else on the patio, and you get sued, having been through this many times with agents helping out, you'll never take enough photos to satisfy whoever is coming after you. They'll even say things like, you're very clever. there's a big disaster over in the garage, but you didn't take any pictures there, did you? You took, 8 pictures elsewhere, but nothing there. You didn't want any evidence of it left behind. They come up with all kinds of things like that. The only exception that I know of that I have at least heard several really good attorneys uniformly say is when, well, this is kind of a wild picture here. There's one room, one area of the home that is over the top, congested or whatever, and you're obviously going to disclaim this, and you want to have a record of it, but you don't have 16 pictures showing that you're taking photos everywhere, just one place as an exception to the rule. That doesn't even have to be done. And by the way, just a side point, if you you're doing your AV and you walk into any room and your first impression is like a bedroom, like, wow, this has got a lot of stuff in it. If you even get to that point or near it, it's very important to disclaim the room. You've got your own language, I'm sure there. I've got in the notes, I'll go by memory, extensive personal belongings, preventative visual inspection of the master bedroom or something. That is a disclaimer. That is a wonderful defense that never gets taken away unless you are called back in because they can't clean the place up, and that usually doesn't happen. So it usually is not only an accurate thing to say or write down, but it's a great protection for you if it gets forgotten about, and then they move in and they find all kinds of problems when you never had an opportunity to see them. So anyway, not a big fan of photos. About 5 more minutes. Let me check. I'll do one more chat thing. That is a question I'll have to get to directly with the individual. Let me just go down and find something here that is not going to take very long. Excuse me. Oh, I'll do this. This is a new one, relatively new, very controversial. But I like to, tackle controversial real world things. So I'll maybe mention this. And this is when the typical scenario is there's a very nice park in a neighborhood. It's been a big selling feature over the years. A lot of families like to move there because they've got kids and they can be in the park and their friends can play in the park and all that sort of thing. And what's happened over the years as people from the homeless community have started to congregate there, and then through time, they're actually living there now. And then perhaps it's not as popular for the families to have their kids there and that sort of thing. First of all, it's a really sensitive topic. We have to be careful about our wording. We never want to use an expression like there's been an intrusion of the homeless community, because that's a negative context there or application. So I'll tell you, I've heard, I speak at a lot of associations of realtors, and often I'm preceded by their counsel, and they do a Q&A or whatever, and then they introduce me and leave. But one question that comes up a lot now is this, and I've probably heard it discussed at, I don't know, a dozen associations of realtors. And every time I've heard, I can't speak for your association there, CVAR, which is not Citrus Valley, that's down here, but Central Valley. I'm in Southern California, Citrus Valley, same initials. But anyway, they're always, attorneys are always hesitant about it because it's just a really tough issue. It's about a 50-50 coin toss as to what you say, but I'll give you the best that I've heard. It's really wonderful if everybody's cooperating. If the seller in the transfer disclosure statement, there's a part of it, and I identified in the notes, neighborhood noise problems or other nuisances. First of all, keep in mind that let me just back up. The sellers may not consider it to be a nuisance. The wording on the form, and I've got the place where you can find it, it just says, are you aware of this as a problem? That like a noise issue, like a barking dog next door. That's a low standard. The sellers can say it's a collie, and I used to have a collie. I love listening to it, who knows? But if they are concerned about this, they can make a disclosure there. You can see at number 11, neighborhood noise problems or other nuisances. If you go up to the dark print and see, are you the seller aware? That's all it is. It's not factual here. It's just kind of preference. So the seller can respond to that and say that this is a issue for them. Also, and either side can do this, contact, the XYZ police, sheriff's department, whatever, regarding law enforcement issues in this community. So I did that when I recently moved I live in San Diego, from one area to another. I went to the local sheriff's department and I asked, can you show me what crimes are going on here? And I got all kinds of printout stuffs and stuff that I could look at to sort of see what the crime situation was where I was buying. And then a note from the buyer's agent to the client, and you can confirm this. There's ways you can confirm it to prove that they got it. Something like, I encourage you to drive around the community at different times to see if you are comfortable with the area. That's a long-standing disclosure we can make, especially when we're asked questions that we don't want to answer about the neighborhood. And I don't mean don't want to because we want to keep it from them. It's just an inappropriate question about a certain lifestyle or a racial question or something like that. So what we've done is the most that we can do. Hopefully the seller has disclosed the issue. Buyers have been directed to law enforcement for local info, and they'll find out about it there. Not from us, but from the police or sheriff. And then buyers have been advised to look around and so forth and do that on their own. So lots more information, and I'm going to go close out here to keep timely here. And Michele, if you get a good response, if you don't get a good response, you don't have to tell me. But if you do, I can always come back as frequently as you like. I actually, believe it or not, have about 25 hours of non-repeating information. Thank you to my sponsors. Thank you, Michele, for inviting me. Nice to see you, Kirk, there. And I will just, if you get a request to have me in again, just let me know and we'll get it on the calendar.
Oh, no, of course. Yeah, we'll get that going again. And did you get all of the questions in the chat? I just want to make sure.
Let me just quickly scan them here.
Mind.
Yeah.
Yes, it is recorded. It'll be on our
recorded.
channel.
Yeah. That Virgil Roberts, there a standard amount of money from inspector better protects, just make sure that the home inspector has E&O insurance, and that and by the way, they should be able to prove it within a minute or seconds. It's very easy to do a certificate of insurance. I think I addressed the other issues in the questions, I believe.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yes, I will probably be emailing you shortly and to see if we can get you on the last quarter of the year, because I really like us doing that.
Okay. And I'm always available to answer questions, and I'll copy you in on any answers. So thank you
so much.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
All right.
And
All right, you guys.
real quick, everybody, I do have E&O insurance, so.
Thank you, Kurt. I also just private messaged you as well. So take a look at that if you don't mind in the messages. Does anybody have any listings they want to chat about before we turn off our Zooms here? I saw a lot of activity over the weekend, so that's very exciting. Anybody? Buyers, anything you guys want to talk about? All right, I know you guys are in a rush. I see that. People are texting me right now and asking me if I could do something else. So, okay. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to give any of us a call in leadership and we'll get things going. And don't forget about the crap feed on Friday. Looking forward to chatting with everybody and seeing everyone. Thank you. Jamie, thank you for donating cookies for the crap feed. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.